المحاضرة دي هتتكلم على الauthor ethics responsibility and character. يعني ايه؟ يعني مين هو الauthor؟ احط اسمي في الاول ولا في الاخر؟ فلان ساعدني. طب احط اسمه فين؟ So we will identify the ethics of author and what is the criteria of that author and its and his responsibility. So the author is an originator. In the medical field, it includes a claim of originality, the published work, responsibility for the veracity, defining the authorship. He is or she is an originator, and in the medical field, it includes a claim of originality of the published work, responsibility for the veracity, reliability of the report, and ownership of the work as intellectual property. What is that meaning? This means you are initiating a new work. It is yours completely. The intellectual property is yours and with the co-authors. Your report or your research work is reliable and it is accurate and honest. كل الداتا اللي انت بتحطها في الشغل بتاعك مظبوطة. انت مالك هذه الفكر او مالك هذه الابداع الفكري اللي انت عملته في الشغل وفي الكتاب. So according to the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, the authorship should be he has substantial contributions to conception, design, acquisition of data or analysis, and interpretation of data. Whenever you are an author, you should put the design of the work. You should obtaining the data or analyzing this and interpreting. You should make a draft or you are correcting that. And finally, there is approval of the version to be published. أما بنعمل شغل لازم عشان أقول إن أنا مؤلف لهذا الشغل لازم أكون عامل الديزاين، عامل التصميم بتاع البروتوكول. يا إما بجمع الداتا يا إما بحللها وبكتب عليها The authorship criteria according to the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors includes substantial contribution to conception and design or acquisition of data or analysis and interpretation of data. What does that mean? This means you should put the design of the work by yourself. You are either collecting the data or analyzing and interpreting, or this means you are commenting on the data. نعمل التصميم بتاع الشغل البروتوكول نفسه الأساسي، يا إما نجمع المعلومات يا إما نحللها ونكتب تعليق عليها. Secondly, you are making a drafting of the article. Okay. بتكتب زي المسودة الأولى or you are revising this. Okay. And finally, there should be approval of the version to be published. All the authors and the co-authors should approve on the final form of the manuscript. The ethical consideration is truthfulness of the author. This will be happened or developed by following the ethical scientific methods, accepting the critical peer reviewing by the member of the editor board, expert guest reviewers. It should be trustworthiness. It builds on trustfulness, trustworthy author. Not only publish what they believe to be true. It should be verified. And fairness. The public face of justice requires that public credit be awarded to originator for original work. if you are doing a good work, it is original, they should be fair to you. So we know now what we mean by author. Okay, there is another forms like contributor. Who is the contributor? The contributor is one who helped you in collection of some of the data, is helping you in doing the statistics, is helping you in sectioning of the samples, or cleaning or whatever, or running the machines, or running the uh, equipment for you. There is a principal author, this is who should fulfill the criteria. The author editor, this is the one who are helping you just by editing your work. There is senior author, usually he is the supervisor in your thesis, and he has a criteria. And the gift author, he is the one who don't do anything and you put his name. So the contributor just giving you advice, helping you in money, in research space, in labs, and so on. What is the unacceptable form of authors, which is a form of abuse? This is the guest author. He is just helping you in publication, but he is not sharing in all steps of the research work. There is a ghost author. He is contributing and you forgot to put his name in the acknowledgement. There is gift author, which is doing nothing. Coercion, senior one forcing the junior one to put their name. Another form is what we call a mutual addition. You are doing a work, another colleague doing another work, and you want each of you to have two works at the same time. So you are putting his name on your work and he will put your name on his work. اتنين بيشتغلوا شغلين مختلفين، خلاص، وبدل ما كل واحد يطلع ببحث باسمه، لا احنا عايزين نطلع احنا الاتنين ببحثين. انا ما اشتغلتش في ده وانت ما اشتغلتش في ده، بس انا هحط اسمك وانت تحط اسمك. Another form of unacceptable author is the omission of name. Someone who is an author, real author, and you forgot to put his name, or you are erasing his name. تشيل اسمه أو ما تحطوش من الأساس. So what is right and wrong in different section has been given in this slide. Okay, some journals determine the definition of author, the data collector, and the investigator. He is asking you, are you an author with your criteria? Are you collecting the data only? Are you investigator? This is a certain journal, not all journal. Okay, the most important question. Where do I put my name? أحط اسمي فين؟ في الأول ولا في الآخر ولا في النص؟ هو اللي اشتغل الشغل اتحط في الأول ولا في الآخر؟ والمشرف العام اتحط في الأول ولا في الآخر؟ So, actually there is no ethical forms to be followed. Okay? Sometimes we're saying that the person who have made the major contribution to the product, he should be the first author. Usually if you are doing a thesis, you are that one. So your name should be at first. Okay? And the one who has the general responsibility, the senior supervisor, should be the last name. Sometimes they are putting the name in alphabetic manner if we are doing equal share of the work. لو احنا كلنا عاملين نفس الشغل بنفس الطريقة ممكن نحط أسامينا بالترتيب حسب الحروف. Sometimes they said that the major contribution is doing the analysis and the interpretation and writing. This one, he should be the first, not the one who is collecting the data. So, the name of the author could be sequence by either sequence determines credit. Okay, this means starting with uh, the major contribution, then declining until the end with the smallest contribution, or secondly, the equal contribution. If we are doing all the same, we are putting our name in alphabetic manner, or the first last author emphasis. Here, in some journal and some labs, okay, they suggested that the first author should get credit of the whole input. The last author half, and the credit will be submitted or divided in the co-authors or other authors in between. واحد بيعمل شغل كتير قوي يبقى هو ده اللي في الأول، وآخر اسم هو اللي عمل نص الشغل خلاص، أو اشترك في نص الحاجات، واللي في النص يبقى بينهم. And there is another form, the percent contribution. Okay, this is we are putting the name according to the size of the contribution, and this is usually a request from Joe. Okay, let us say, what about your ethics and responsibility? What we are expecting from you to be. Number one, if you are an author, responsible, you are responsible for your creation and design. You should be knowing that your work is new and original. Your data has been gained ethically, and this data is valid and have informed consent. Whenever you are collecting data, sometimes you can gain non-valid data. For example, you are testing some anti-diabetic treatment. To have a proper test, you should choose different categories. Someone who has a minor complaints, moderate complaints, major complaints, and you're testing the drug against each other, and then you can get a valid data. If you are choosing the good reflex that has been seen with the people who had a minor effect or a minor disease, you will have a magnificent result, which is not true, it is not valid, it is biased. عشان نعمل اختبار حقيقي، لو هقول الدواء ده كويس لازم اختبره مع الناس اللي عندها الدواء المرض ده لسه بادئ، او حاجات بسيطة، او حاجات وناس تانية، مجموعة تانية من عندها اعراض اكتر او المرض مش كنترول فيها. لو انا خدت الدواء ده وشفت نتيجته في المجموعة الاولانية اللي هي عندها اعراض بسيطة او المرض لسه بادئ، هنلاقي نتائج كويسة. هل في الحالة دي اقول هو ده الدواء، هو ده نتيجته؟ لا، دي نتيجة غير مكتملة. خلاص، التحليل بتاع الداتا بتاعتك مش مظبوط، وانت بتجمع الداتا دي مش مظبوطة. والدليل على كده ان احنا عندنا change all the time in the guidelines because of that bad results and bad unvalid data. You will changing the guidelines all over again and again. Okay, the author should write his work himself in understandable language. He should cite the influential or close work. All authors listed on a manuscript are aware of submission and agree on the content. مفيش حد أحط اسمه على بحث وهو مش عارف إنه بيتباعت أو مش هو ما قراش آخر نسخة. There should be a statement showing that all authors read and approve the manuscript, and some of those journals are giving you that letter that all authors should sign for their approval on the manuscript. You should agree that this manuscript will be examined by reviewers. تبقى متأكد وعارف إن الناس هتيجي تقيم شغلك في المجلات الكويسة. You should obtain the copyrights permission from others. لو أنت أخد صورة أو أخد table من حد you should have his approval on that. Okay, avoid what we called a redundant publication. What we mean by redundant publication, you are submitting your work in different journals at the same time. تبعت شغلك هنا وهنا وهنا من غير ما تقول لكل جورنال إن أنت بعت. You should provide copies of your related works submitted or published elsewhere. عشان ما يحصلش خلط ولا يتم اتهامك بإن أنت بتاخد من شغل آخرين أو يتعمل لما بيتعمل checking على البلاجيريزم. لو أنت عامل شغل مشابه في مجلات أخرى بتقول إن أنا عامل شغل مشابه واتنشر في الحتة. If you have a similar work, you should clarify this to avoid accusation by plagiarism and avoid different problems in this journal. You should revise the manuscript for the intellectual content. The final approval version for publication is your responsibility. The acknowledgement is your responsibility. You should acknowledge the persons who has addition to your work or had helped you at the time. The funding is not an authorship criteria. If someone helping you with money, he is not an author. But you should mention that you have that support, financial support in the acknowledgement. You should have reasonable attempts to check findings submitted for publication. Also, the author provides information to allow readers to determine whether the author may have commercial or non-commercial conflict of interest. Sometimes you are testing drugs or testing equipment that have been paid to you to do that research. Okay, this should be clarified whenever you are submitting your work. Information and the data should be truthfully and completely. You should avoid plagiarism, fabrication, falsification, unacceptable practice. What do we mean by a conflict of interest? You should, of course, avoid this conflict of interest. And many journals have their own conflict disclosure policies, providing you a paper to sign that you don't have a conflict of interest or you have a conflict of interest. أوقات بيبقى فيه تضارب مصالح. مثلا أنت بتختبر دواء أو بتختبر مثلا لو أنت في عمليات أو حاجة مسامير وشرايح وقلت عليها مش كويسة. ممكن اللي يكون بيقيم هذا الشغل تبقى شركة قوية مثلا أو شركة فيها علماء ممكن يقولوا إن شغلك أنت مش كويس. ده نوع من الكونفليكت اوف انترست. خلاص، يبقى اما نعمل حاجة زي دي ممكن أقول لو في شركة بتعمل كذا أو لو في بروفيسور عمل حاجة أنت قلت مثلا شغله لأ مش كويس أو الداتا بتاعته مش مظبوطة، تقول إن أنت عندك تضارب مصالح مع هذا الأستاذ أو تضارب مصالح مع هذه الشركة. Authors should clearly describe the role of the study sponsor in the study design. Collection of data, analysis, interpretation, approval, and so on. Thank you.